together. A lot of times it's referred to as masculine and feminine, but it's also thought of as the seeming opposites of life. The seeming opposites that live within this one wholeness. So things that we humans think of as up or down, hot or cold, good or bad, masculine and feminine, yes or no. These things that we live with every day. Is it this or is it that? Yes. This symbol is a paradox. That it all lives within the one. You notice that even within the black, there's a white dot. And even within the white, there's a black dot. Is your mind blown by that, or is it I'm the only one? I love that this whole idea of oneness says yes. Is it up or down? Yes. Is it hot or cold? Yes. These things are only just perceptions that we make up. These things are only just orientations that we make up. The greater thing, the Tao, the God, is this universal wholeness that has all of it within it. Foundational students get really stuck sometimes on, is it this or is it this? And I have to just smile and say, it will unfold itself as you take the class. It's all potentiality. Things are not good or bad necessarily, but our perception makes them so. Even up or down, you know I love to say this, we live on a round planet, right? We perceive that that's up and that that's down. But right now our planet may be in such a position that we're hanging upside down. You know? So what really is up or down? Depending on where we're at, we might be sticking off right here. I love that. There is no such thing as up or down except how we understand it. So the Tao, as expressed in this yin-yang, is something greater than we're ever going to understand. But if we can find a place in our minds to have both and live together, rather than so much black and white thinking, I think that helps us be better spiritual beings on this planet trying to navigate our way through a world that is black and white and up and down and good and bad. Bring both things together and say yes. Ernest Holmes would say, masculine and feminine. One is directive and one is receptive. That's how this philosophy brings those together. One is giving and one is receiving. One of the greatest applications that we have is that idea of giving and receiving and directing and letting go. When we do prayer work here, we have the 5th step called release, yes? We release. The other 4 steps are very masculine, if you will, in their approach because they are directing. This answers your question that we were talking about. So these two things come together because we tap into God, we unify ourselves with it, we speak our word. How often do you hear me or the practitioner say, I speak my word for greater health for this person now. I speak my word, I know and I claim peace of mind for this person now. We are directing, we are knowing something greater for you or for ourselves. We give thanks, and at the very end of it, what do we say? I release into the law. That's where the idea of this comes in. So I'm speaking my word, it's very directive, and then when I release with full faith that I will receive. There's the feminine part, if you will. Masculine and feminine, I'm not talking about men and women. I'm talking about direction and receiving. The two things work together. They are not either or. So yes, we direct our thoughts. We direct what we say we want in our lives. We make a claim. And then that 5th step, which humans don't always do a very good job with, is it's essential to it. I release into something that is greater than I am. And when I release, it means it's putting me in a receptive mode. That's one of the biggest parallels between Taoism and science of mind. So I'm going to take this away now. Everybody kind of, on whatever level you do, understands that everything is existing in the one wholeness. And in Taoism, there is no judgment about that. There is no judgment about your perceptions. You get to perceive it how you want. You want to call it hot? Okay. You want to call it cold? Okay. You want to call it good? Okay. You want to call it bad? Okay. But what about rules? Taoism has no rules. It has principles. Science of mind, our teaching, no rules, principles. Principles are guidelines for us. And if we are going to live by principles, we will find the internal moral compass inside of us. We don't have to live by imposed rules outside of us. So science of mind has none, Taoism has none. But they do say that you've got to go with what it is that the principles are. So, coming together as a both and is one of those principles. Let me tell you about a few other similarities that I happen to like between the two things. One of them is that Taoism, there is no deity or Godhead. In science of mind, there's no deity or Godhead. There's no it out there that you have to appease. There's no deity that you have to believe in. There's no Godhead that you must worship in either of these two. There is one source in both of these understandings, and it just is. What did I say in the first passage? That which we can name is not it. The Tao, God, is beyond names. It's beyond anything that we could label it. The one source just is. It is the potential of everything, and both philosophies say that. It is the universal principles of life. Both philosophies say that. It is an absolute intelligence. Both philosophies say that. Oneness is a big teaching, and along with oneness comes reverence for all life. Along with reverence for all life comes inclusion. We teach that big here. It's in our vision statement at the beginning. There is no salvation to be earned in ours or in Taoism. And they say that the Tao is the way, but not the only way. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, says this teaching is one way, but it's not the only way. So there's a lot of parallels, a lot of similarities in that. One difference, one big difference, is that we do create a method of understanding and using the principles. So the Taoist philosophy says there's a principle of life and you have to figure that out. Science of mind says there's a principle of life and here's how you can work with it. Affirmations, your 5-step prayer. Our 5-step prayer gives us a method and for us to like grasp it. Because, you know, here in the West especially, we don't do really good with, okay, there's a principle. You know, we don't do really good with just that nebulous idea. So our philosophy does give us some very concrete, specific methods to use to help us feel the greater principle, to feel the greater presence, to give us a starting point of how to feel that. So that's one of the things that is different. Let me tell you this. Let's skip this. When I'm talking about the absolute intelligence of this, here's a couple things that Ernest Holmes says about the absolute intelligence. He says, we believe in an absolute intelligence because such an intelligence is manifest throughout the universe in which we live. Wherever we look, we see it at work. Whether it be the intelligence in the atom or the convolutions of thought operating through the brains of Socrates or Einstein. Consequently, we state our first principle as an absolute intelligence. Taoism is saying the same thing. There's an absolute intelligence. Ernest Holmes also reminds us that we cannot contract the absolute. So our job as humans is we must expand the relative. We live in the world of both. We live in the world of the relative a whole lot. We can't take this absolute and bring it down, but we can take our relative understanding and expand it. And that's our job, that we are expanding our ability to understand an absolute intelligence as the creator of all things. But don't put it in a box. Keep expanding your ability to understand it. Don't say, yes, we've got it all figured out. Because we don't. Keep expanding, expanding, expanding. Some of the practices. Breath. Do we breathe around here a whole lot?
Yeah.
Consciously breathe around here a whole lot. Of course we're breathing. But I mean, we ask you all the time to take a deep breath. In the Taoist practice, breathing into the center of peace is a big part of the practice. Meditation and silence, yes, one of the practices that we share with them so we can feel that presence inside of us. Letting go of expectations. Ooh. Human beings don't do that as good. But in the Tao